Alright, what is up YouTube? Alien Horizon 2 here, back playing some Kirby 64 Crystal Shards. And what we're going to be demonstrating in this video is going to be all of the copy, ability, and powers that you can get in this game. And before we get any further, don't forget to give a like and subscribe and hit the bell to receive notifications. If you guys enjoyed our content, would like to see more, also leave a comment down below if there's anything particularly you'd like to see for this game. And unless we get any requests, this is going to be our last Kirby 64 content that we're going to be uploading, and then we're going to be moving on to some more N64 games. So the copy ability that we just demonstrated, you unlock after getting 100% in the game. You only use it when you fight the final boss, so if you guys want to see more about that and an explanation behind that, check out my other content which explains that. So first we're going to be demonstrating is just the original 6 base items that you can get, then we're going to be demonstrating both of them together for the double copy abilities, and then we're going to be going into order with the different combinations that they can use. I will also be demonstrating some of the unique attributes and features of each item. This is obviously the burn, which if you're speedrunning you can use it to get across the screen faster as long as you're teching with blowing the air outward as soon as you're going through. Next we're going to be moving on to the stone, and this one I'll be demonstrating what you need on this specific level just to get a crystal. I also have an all crystal videos if you guys want to check out that, with all of the locations named in an order. And with the stone, if you don't swallow the enemy and you just put him above your head, you can use him to ascend across 3 different trajectories and hit multiple enemies. You can also use it to hit people that are on the platforms above you. This is going to be the needle, which basically just sends out the spikes, and it does a lot of damage, and you can hold it for however long that you'd like, unless you're jumping and falling into it. This is going to be the ice, which spins around a frost breath in a 360 direction around you, and then also freezes enemies, which you can then use as projectiles. This is going to be the spark, and you can basically hold this for as long as you'd like. However, if you move side to side while using it, it will make the circle smaller. Moving on to the double copy abilities, this is going to be the homing missiles, and basically you can either get 3 to 1 based on how long you're holding B, 3 would be the charge, and 1 would just be light tapping B. You can also get 2 as well. They're kind of limited on their directions, but you can still hit enemies that are floating above you. This is one of the better double abilities of this one. Moving on to the super cutter, which is pretty much the same thing as the regular cutter, except it has spikes and a larger hitbox range that it covers. And the same thing applies with the limitations for the regular cutters. You can't fly or be in the water while using it, and if you jump off edge while using it, then you will fall to the ground or die, depending on if there's a platform underneath you. This is going to be the Firebird, which is the double burn, and this is pretty convenient for getting across the map, except you can't tech it like you can just a single burn item. And you can also use it to hit enemies that are on both sides of you, front and behind, and on top and below of you. This is going to be the giant snowball, which is the double ice, and basically it sucks up all the enemies as you're continuing to roll, and then depending on how many enemies you sucked up, it will send out multiple projectiles in different trajectories based on how many you swallowed up while you were rolling. Moving on to the double needle, this is the spiky objects. This one is pretty cool. It's just going to send out a bunch of objects around you. However, you can't hold it down for a limited time. You can only hold it out for about a second. This is going to be the area spark, which is the double electricity, and same rules apply. If you're standing still, it will be a larger range of attack, and you can hold it down for as long as you like, but if you move side to side, it will make the range of your attack smaller. This is the Ultra Stone double copy ability, and basically just a larger version of the regular stone, and you can just run into any enemies that you'd like, and they won't do any damage to you, and you also kill them in the process. This is going to be the fire arrow, and based on how long you are holding B, it will send the fire arrow into a different trajectory, so you can hit enemies across all over the screen. You can hit them right in front of you and further behind. Moving on to the combination abilities, this is going to be static electricity. This is kind of an unusual one, but Kirby will just basically rub his head with the static electricity and then run around on fire, and during that time you can hit enemies. This is the fire sword. This is one of my favorite ones because you can do multiple things with the fire sword. As long as it is behind you or on top of you, wherever the enemy is facing, it will destroy it, and then you can also throw it in the air and launch it as a projectile at enemies, and then just get another one right back. So using that in 3 different ways allows you to hit enemies in front, behind you, and above you, and also use it as a projectile. This is going to be the volcano, which you can pretty much just do in any specific direction that you'd like, but you can't move while you're using it, so it's kind of limited in that sense. This is going to be the melting ice cube, and it pretty much just sends out the ice and the fire on both sides of you. However, it has to be a close range attack for it to work. This is going to be the fireworks, which you get 3 different jumps with this one, and then after the 3rd jump you will have to land on the ground to reset. If you do it over the edge with no platform underneath you, you will die because you'll fall to the bottom. This is one of the better ones too in this game. It's pretty useful against bosses, and it has a large attack range. This is going to be the lightning rod, and it basically can hit enemies at the longest range above you and as well as around you when you get hit with the lightning. So this is good for levels that you have to continuously climb and the enemies are on top of you because you can hit them before you even get to them. This is going to be the snare, and this is definitely one of my favorite power-up abilities in the game. If I had to choose one item to use throughout the entire game, it would be this one because you can hold it as long as you'd like, and it also has a large attack range. This is going to be the snowflake, which also has a large attack range, but it only comes out for a second or two, and it turns enemies into frozen projectiles, which you can launch at other enemies. This is going to be the drill, and a special ability with the drill is you can continuously allow it to maintain you in the air as long as you keep attacking it on earlier frames, and then you can also use it to help you slide forward while attacking enemies in the process. This is going to be the exploding Gordo, which is just basically what it is. It's exploding Gordo, and he's sending out frost tips that will attack enemies in a 360 range based on each one of their trajectories. This is going to be the lightsaber, which you can use in multiple different ways. However, if you want to jump normally, you're going to have to press down or down B together to release it and then be able to fly, but you can use it for multiple different types of attacks, and it'll attack both in front and behind you. This is going to be the refrigerator. This is kind of a goofy one because you can't move around while using it, but it'll send out 3 different items that can attack enemies and as well also heal you. So I'm going to demonstrate right here taking some damage and then using it to kill an enemy, and then also use it as a healing item. So that's pretty handy if you're on a hard level that you can't really beat and you need to keep getting more life. So this is going to be an electrified boulder. This would definitely be my second tier for wanting to have one to travel around with because it spins all the way around you, and you can also reset it before it gets all the way around to attack more enemies in front of you. Definitely one of the best copy abilities in this game in my opinion. The light bulb, which basically you hold out for a second and then it explodes. This is going to be the ice skates, which you can skate forward and spin, and your spin attack will hit enemies, and if you're able to short hop in this game, then you can hit enemies at close range without having to be worried about getting hit, and you can also press back while you're skating forward, and he will come to a stop and damage enemies in front of you with that attack. This is going to be the Stone Friends, which there's a couple different things that you can do with this. I believe there's 5 different combinations. The fish one doesn't really do anything. I tried it in the water. There's also that one, which is kind of a slower jump. The bird is probably the best one to utilize in this one because he's super light. However, he still has the stone ability. And as you can see right here, if you get him onto a diagonal platform, then he will be able to roll downward. That's probably one of the better ones to use throughout the game. However, he can't go through platforms above you, so you would have to come out of it to use it. And then get it again because you have to sit there and keep getting it until you get whatever copy ability that you want. There's the bigger bird version of this, and then there's also the groundhog, which climbs walls, which you need to get one of the secret crystals in this game. This is going to be the exploding shuriken, and it basically just throws invisible throwing stars, and they'll explode on sight as soon as they come in contact with an enemy, but you can launch them all the way across the screen, and it'll also maintain you in the air if you keep hitting it right before the next one. This is going to be the Exploding Snowman one. This one's pretty interesting. It has a decent sized attack range for what it is. However, if you do run into enemies at a certain angle, it will actually do damage to yourself. And then if you do it properly, it will also make enemies into ice projectiles. Same with the Curling Stone. This is kind of a good way to get around the map, as well as the Fire one, which you can just continuously keep sliding, and then if you lose momentum, you can just run and then get more momentum and go back, and it makes them into ice blocks, which you can use as projectiles. Alrighty, this is going to be the last one that we're going to be demonstrating. This is going to be the dynamite. This one does a ton of damage, and it does damage across the whole entire screen. So if you're not protecting yourself with the helmet by pressing down, it will actually do damage to you. Even if you're just barely visible on the screen, it covers the whole entire area. It usually takes a couple seconds for it to blow up, and you can also throw it in the air and then go underneath it to bounce it into a certain direction. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed this content, and soon we're going to be moving on to the Tony Hawk 64 games and more 64 games. Thanks for checking it out, and stay tuned for much more.